something you said really struck me, which was that about 10 years ago, you had the realization that life is not a dress rehearsal, that this is time to kind of get serious. I'm wondering what it was that preceded that epiphany and how it spurred you on.
Wow. I think I've been very diligent in my training and tried to listen to the advice of all my teachers and instructors as a student, as an academic, as a training actor, and I always wanted to do right by them. And I found myself, it's a very scary moment when you're a young actor. Most people find themselves in their early 20s, and everything is possible and nothing is guaranteed. And you start auditioning, and if you're lucky enough, you have an agent, and you start auditioning, and they send you everything from period drama to Casualty to dairy milk commercials. Yep, I went up for a dairy milk commercial when I was 24. And you are thrown into the business and thrown into it at the deep end, and there's no time for doubt or failure, except routinely. That's what happens to all of us. And I perhaps was too careful in auditioning, and I would always get close to landing roles and to booking jobs, and I would never quite get there. And this is a universal experience for all creative people, certainly actors, is that the constant rejection at the beginning. And you have to get used to it, and you have to get thick-skinned about it. And I got so exhausted by, I was trying to sort of, because at first you take it very personally. And I thought, well, no one's gonna help me get there. The only person who can do this is me. And I started preparing in a different way, and I sort of stepped up to the plate a little better, I think, because I could feel time sliding away, and I wasn't getting on with life. I just was sort of stuck in this rut of neither acting nor doing anything else. And the experience of being in your 20s is so energetic, and I felt so stagnant, actually. So I just kind of changed everything up, and it worked. Yeah. I'm lucky.
Do you remember your the first production that you saw, live stage production that you saw as a child?
I was taken to see pantomime, so that was probably the first at Christmas time. And my grandfather, my mother's father, had a wonderful tradition of gathering up his brood, all the troops, all of his children, all of his children's children, at Christmas time to go and watch something. And I remember seeing The Wind in the Willows at the National Theatre. I think Ian McKellen played Badger. I think I might have. Maybe he was definitely Captain Hook in Peter Pan. And then I remember very clearly my first Shakespeare production was A Midsummer Night's Dream at the Barbican, Royal Shakespeare Company production directed by Adrian Noble, with Alex Jennings as Oberon, and it was so joyful and so fun, and I didn't know the story. The first time I had my head sort of blown clean away in the theatre was a production by Richard Eyre of John Gabriel Borkman, the Ibsen play, with Paul Scofield and Vanessa Redgrave and Eileen Atkins. And I remember I was taken to see it by an English teacher, and it was at the Littleton Theatre at the National in London. And in the interval, there were a couple of us there, and he called us aside and he said, "You never saw Olivier, you never saw Gielgud, you never saw Richardson. You are watching Paul Scofield, one of the greatest actors of all time, in what will be his last performance. Treasure it." And it was magnificent. I mean, there was something, people still don't really feel they were close to Scofield, or that they understood his talent and how he pulled out what he pulled out. But I was aware I was in the presence of greatness, and it was a film about a family in pain. And Vanessa Redgrave was so good, and Eileen Atkins as well. And that was one of those life-changing moments where I felt the power of dramatic storytelling to unite a group of strangers. You know, I was in the National Theatre with all these grown-ups, and it seemed that when we sat down at 7:30 like a social occasion, and by 10:30 we all left bonded by a common experience. And I really understood the sort of the power that theatre and cinema can have.